As the creaking gates of the ancestral estate swung open, a shiver ran down Isabella's spine. Returning to her childhood home after years of absence was a daunting prospect, yet she couldn't ignore the pull of nostalgia that drew her back. The old mansion stood like a sentinel, its time-worn facade a testament to the memories it held and the secrets it guarded. Isabella stepped through the threshold, and the musty air wrapped itself around her like a cold embrace. The interior, once filled with laughter and warmth, now felt desolate and eerie. Dust-covered furniture draped with tattered sheets seemed like long-forgotten phantoms lingering in the shadows. With trembling hands, Isabella lit a few candles, and the dim light flickered and danced, casting grotesque shapes on the peeling wallpaper. The echoes of her past seemed to grow louder with each passing moment, and she found herself ensnared in a labyrinth of memories she had tried so hard to forget. In the dining hall, the long table that once hosted grand family feasts now appeared hauntingly empty. The laughter of her siblings and the stern voice of her father echoed in her ears. Tears welled up in her eyes as she remembered the last time she saw her family together, before they were torn apart by tragedy. Moving through the dimly lit corridors, Isabella found herself drawn to the locked room at the end of the hallway. The door seemed to beckon her, whispering secrets she had buried deep within her heart. With a trembling hand, she produced a key that had remained hidden in her possession for years. The key that unlocked not only the door, but also the floodgates of haunting memories. As the door creaked open, she was engulfed by a wave of emotions. This room belonged to her late sister, Emily, who tragically passed away in the house under mysterious circumstances. The room remained untouched since that dreadful day, preserved as a shrine to the sister she had loved so dearly. Isabella's heart pounded in her chest, and her hands trembled as she picked up a faded photograph from Emily's desk. It was a picture of them as children, their smiles bright and carefree. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the candles, plunging the room into darkness, and Isabella could have sworn she felt a presence in the room, as if her sister's spirit lingered there. Panicking, she stumbled out of the room, shutting the door behind her. As she tried to relight the candles, a spectral figure appeared at the end of the corridor. It was Emily, or at least, Isabella thought it was. Her heart raced as the apparition moved closer, its face twisted in anguish. "Isabella?" the ghostly figure whispered, and Isabella's breath caught in her throat. "No, this can't be real," she muttered to herself, trying to convince her trembling mind that what she saw was an illusion. But the apparition didn't vanish. Instead, it reached out, and Isabella could feel a chilling touch on her shoulder. Her mind reeled with confusion and fear. Was this a hallucination, a manifestation of her guilt and grief? As the first light of dawn broke through the windows, the ghostly figure faded away, leaving Isabella standing alone in the dimly lit corridor. She knew she had to confront the past and uncover the truth behind her sister's death. In the days that followed, the house seemed to come alive with inexplicable occurrences. Strange noises echoed through the hallways, and doors slammed shut on their own. Isabella's nights were plagued with restless sleep, filled with nightmarish visions of her past. She delved deeper into her family's history, unearthing long-buried secrets that sent shivers down her spine. The more she uncovered, the more she realized that her family's dark past was entwined with the very foundations of the mansion. Haunted by her own memories and the malevolent presence that seemed to lurk around every corner, Isabella embarked on a journey to unravel the enigma of her family's past. But little did she know that her search for answers would lead her to confront not only the ghosts of her past, but also the malevolent entity that thrived on her family's pain. In the heart of the mansion's darkness, Isabella would have to confront her deepest fears and face the chilling truth about the house she once called home. The shadows of the past were closing in, and Isabella's battle for survival had only just begun. As Isabella delved deeper into the mysteries shrouding her family and the old mansion, an unsettling aura pervaded the air. The once tranquil halls now seemed to whisper their secrets to her, and she couldn't escape the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Armed with old family documents and faded photographs, Isabella sought answers in the attic, where boxes of forgotten memories lay in dust-covered obscurity. Amongst the relics of the past, she found a worn-out diary that belonged to her great-grandmother, a woman whose existence had remained a mere whisper in family tales. As she pored over the pages, Isabella discovered cryptic entries detailing inexplicable phenomena that had plagued the family for generations. Her great-grandmother spoke of spectral apparitions, sinister whispers that resonated through the walls, and doors opening and closing on their own. It was as though the house itself was alive with an ominous presence. The more Isabella read, the more she realized that the secrets hidden within the mansion's walls were far darker and malevolent than she could have imagined. The diary hinted at an ancient ritual performed by a former owner of the estate, a ritual meant to summon dark forces and attain unholy power. Her heart raced as she understood that the malevolent entity she encountered might have been a result of that very ritual. In her quest to uncover the truth, Isabella stumbled upon a hidden passage behind a bookshelf. This concealed path led her deep into the bowels of the mansion, where the air grew colder, and the oppressive darkness seemed to press against her soul. An unsettling silence filled the underground chamber, broken only by her nervous breath. As Isabella ventured further, ancient symbols adorned the walls, their meaning eluding her. She felt the presence of something malevolent, as though the very walls were warning her to turn back. But her determination to uncover the family's secrets outweighed her fear, and she pressed on, guided by an inexorable curiosity. The passage led to a chamber that seemed to be the epicenter of the malevolence that haunted the mansion. A foreboding altar dominated the room, and a sense of dread washed over Isabella as she realized the significance of the ritual her great-grandmother had described. Suddenly, a cold breeze engulfed her, extinguishing the lantern she carried. In the darkness, she heard whispers, indiscernible yet menacing. Panic threatened to overwhelm her, but as she fumbled to relight the lantern, she noticed an ancient tome resting on the altar. The book's pages depicted sinister rituals, and its leather cover bore a symbol identical to the one in the diary. Isabella's heart pounded as she realized the enormity of what she had uncovered. Her family had been entangled in an ancient practice of dark magic, and the consequences of their actions had manifested into the malevolent force that now haunted the mansion. Desperate to find a way to break the curse that bound her family, Isabella continued her search. She sought counsel in ancient texts and obscure tomes, hoping to find a ritual of purification that would put an end to the evil that had tormented them for generations. As the sun set, Isabella stood before the haunted chamber, ready to perform the ritual she had painstakingly uncovered. The air was heavy with anticipation, and the mansion seemed to hold its breath. With trembling hands, she began the incantation, invoking the spirits of light to banish the darkness that had taken root in her family's legacy. A surge of energy filled the room, and a blinding light emanated from the altar. Shadows recoiled and dispersed, and the malevolent force that had plagued the mansion for centuries dissipated into nothingness. The curse had been broken, and the house felt lighter, as though a great burden had been lifted. Exhausted but triumphant, Isabella emerged from the underground chamber, her heart filled with a newfound sense of peace. The hidden secrets had been unveiled, and though the scars of the past remained, she knew that the cycle of darkness had finally been broken. However, as she stepped back into the light, Isabella couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The mansion's history was complex, and even with the curse lifted, she couldn't be certain that all the shadows had been vanquished. There was still much to unravel, and her journey into the depths of her family's history had only just begun. The boundary between dreams and reality blurred as Isabella found herself trapped in a haunting world where shadows lurked in every corner. The oppressive atmosphere of the mansion seemed to intensify, and she couldn't discern what was genuine and what her mind had conjured in the grip of fear. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Isabella retired to her room, hoping for a night of peaceful sleep. But as she closed her eyes, a torrent of vivid nightmares consumed her. She dreamt of ghostly figures whispering malevolently, beckoning her to follow them into the depths of the mansion's darkness. Each night, the nightmares grew more vivid, more tormenting. She saw glimpses of her late sister, Emily, reaching out to her from the abyss of her dreams, her eyes reflecting a pain Isabella could not comprehend. The line between the past and the present blurred as Isabella's subconscious seemed to merge the haunting memories with the eerie occurrences in the mansion. During the day, the relentless feeling of being watched followed her like a shadow. Isabella's nerves were frayed, and she couldn't shake the sensation that someone, or something, was stalking her every move. In the flickering candlelight, she saw fleeting glimpses of phantom figures darting through the periphery of her vision. The mansion's peculiar architecture played tricks on her mind. Narrow hallways elongated, doorways shifted, and rooms seemed to expand and contract. Isabella began questioning her sanity, wondering if the mansion itself was toying with her perceptions. Desperate for answers, she sought counsel from the few remaining staff members who had served her family for generations. But their responses were veiled in cryptic riddles and superstitions. They spoke of restless spirits that had always haunted the mansion, of ancient curses that couldn't be escaped. As Isabella's insomnia deepened, she became unsure if she was awake or trapped in a never-ending nightmare. She tried to keep a journal, documenting her experiences to separate reality from fiction. Yet, as she wrote, the words seemed to twist and distort, leaving her more confused than ever. One particularly dark evening, as the moon cast its eerie glow over the mansion, Isabella heard a chilling melody echo through the halls. She followed the haunting sound to a forgotten chamber, where an old music box lay on a dusty table. The tune it played was beautiful, yet tinged with a sense of sorrow that seemed to pierce her heart. As she reached out to touch the music box, the room suddenly transformed. The walls closed in on her, and the music grew louder, enveloping her in a suffocating embrace. Isabella felt as though the room was alive, reacting to her presence with malevolence. Terrified, she ran from the room, her heart pounding in her chest. But as she fled, the mansion seemed to rearrange itself, its layout shifting and twisting to disorient her further. Panic consumed her, and she stumbled through the ever-changing corridors, unable to escape the nightmarish labyrinth. Isabella's grip on reality slipped further as she grappled with the nightmares that infiltrated her waking moments. She questioned her own senses, unable to trust what she saw or heard. Every flicker of candlelight, every creak of the floorboards sent shivers down her spine. As she lay awake, her mind tormented by both waking nightmares and sleeping terrors, she knew she had to confront the malevolent force that plagued her. Determined to unravel the truth and free herself from the suffocating grip of the mansion's darkness, Isabella braced herself for the ultimate confrontation with the shadows that hid within the walls, threatening to consume her sanity and soul. The battle between reality and nightmare had begun, and the outcome would determine the fate of Isabella's sanity and her family's legacy. As the threads of the past and present intertwined, the ghosts of history came alive, and the air became charged with a thirst for vengeance. Isabella's quest for truth had led her to the heart of darkness, where she learned the horrifying reality behind her family's suffering. Fueled by a potent mix of anger and desperation, she resolved to confront those responsible for inflicting pain upon her family. In the dimly lit study, Isabella discovered a hidden compartment within an ancient bookshelf. Inside lay a collection of letters, written by her ancestors, detailing a sinister pact made generations ago. It was a pact that promised power and prosperity to the family, but at a dreadful cost, a cost that had been paid through the tormented souls bound to the mansion. The source of the malevolence that plagued the mansion had been revealed, and Isabella understood that her ancestors had dabbled in forbidden dark arts. Driven by greed and ambition, they had sacrificed innocent lives, tainting the very foundation of the estate with blood and suffering. Determined to break the curse and avenge her family, Isabella set out to decipher the ritual described in the letters. The process was arduous, requiring knowledge of ancient rites and an understanding of the delicate balance between light and darkness. Yet, with each passing moment, Isabella felt the oppressive force of the mansion strengthen, resisting her attempts to undo the malevolent spell. During her research, Isabella also stumbled upon the name of a secretive organization known as the Order of the Black Serpent. The order was believed to have ties to dark rituals and wielded immense influence over the town and its inhabitants. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, Isabella realized that the Order's machinations had extended beyond her family, enshrouding the entire community in a web of deceit. In the midst of her investigation, Isabella's encounters with the malevolent entity intensified. Phantom figures materialized before her, manifesting from the very walls of the mansion. The apparitions whispered menacingly, urging her to abandon her quest for vengeance and leave the cursed legacy behind. But Isabella refused to yield. She had endured countless nightmares and witnessed the shadows of the past wreak havoc upon her life. The desire for justice burned within her, igniting a determination to face the Order and put an end to the suffering. As she ventured deeper into the secrets of the Order, Isabella found an unlikely ally in an old historian who had dedicated his life to uncovering the truth about the organization. Together, they pieced together the Order's dark history, unearthing a trail of betrayal and terror that spanned centuries. The historian shared stories of ancient battles fought in the town, where the Order had wielded forbidden powers to manipulate events to their advantage. The atrocities committed by this malevolent cabal had left scars on the town's history, and Isabella realized that her family's suffering was merely a fragment of the Order's wicked legacy. The path to vengeance led Isabella and her ally to an abandoned chapel on the outskirts of town, a place rumored to have once been the epicenter of the Order's dark activities. As they entered the dilapidated structure, a palpable sense of malevolence enveloped them, and the air grew thick with the weight of past sins. In the heart of the chapel, they discovered an ancient tome containing the ritual that bound the malevolent force to the mansion. Isabella knew that breaking the curse required a price, and she was prepared to pay it. With the historian's guidance, she began the ritual, uttering incantations to cleanse the mansion of the darkness that had plagued her family for generations. As the ritual unfolded, a tempest of shadows erupted around Isabella, pulling her into a nightmarish vortex of malevolence. Her resolve was tested, but she refused to falter. The spirits of the cursed souls emerged from the darkness, seeking to deter her from her path. But in a moment of clarity, Isabella saw the face of her late sister Emily amongst the spirits. Emily's ethereal form smiled faintly, encouraging her to persevere. With newfound strength, Isabella pushed forward, resisting the malevolent forces that clawed at her. At the pinnacle of the ritual, Isabella's voice echoed through the chapel, binding the malevolence within the ancient tome. The darkness retreated, and a serene light filled the chamber. The curse had been broken, and the malevolent entity that had haunted the mansion dissipated into nothingness. As she emerged from the chapel, Isabella felt a profound sense of relief, knowing that her family's suffering had finally come to an end. The townspeople, freed from the shackles of the Order's malevolence, began to breathe more easily, as though a great burden had been lifted from their hearts. But Isabella's thirst for vengeance remained unquenched. Determined to hold the Order accountable for their actions, she vowed to expose their secrets and bring them to justice. Her journey had evolved from a quest for personal vindication to a fight against the forces of darkness that had ensnared her family and the town for centuries. As she prepared to confront the Order, Isabella knew that her battle was far from over. The shadows of the past might have been vanquished, but the tendrils of darkness still stretched forth, weaving their malevolent threads through the fabric of the town's history. Armed with the truth and a resolve steeled by vengeance, Isabella set her sights on dismantling the Order of the Black Serpent once and for all. The final chapter of her harrowing journey awaited, and the fate of the town hung in the balance. As the sun set over the town, casting a crimson glow upon the mansion, Isabella stood before the members of the Order of the Black Serpent, who had gathered in the heart of their sinister domain. The room was adorned with arcane symbols, and the air was thick with an ominous presence. The malevolent figures regarded her with sinister smiles, confident in their perceived mastery of dark forces. Isabella, their leader, a cold and calculating figure, hissed, "What brings you here? Do you seek to challenge us? You are but one against many." In response, Isabella drew upon the knowledge she had acquired through her journey of discovery. With unwavering resolve, she exposed the Order's ancient crimes, weaving together the threads of their malevolence and proving their guilt beyond doubt. The truth was a weapon she wielded against the Order, one that threatened to tear down their carefully crafted facade of power and impunity. the leader of the order scoffed, attempting to dismiss her revelations. But Isabella had anticipated their defiance, and she had an ace up her sleeve. She unveiled the ancient tome she had used to break the curse that had haunted her family's mansion, presenting it as undeniable evidence of her power and determination. As the truth unraveled before the members of the order, they began to realize that their web of deceit was crumbling, and the seeds of fear were planted in their hearts. Their leader's veneer of arrogance faded, and his eyes betrayed his unease. But he was not one to yield easily to a single adversary. "You think you can defeat us with your parlor tricks," he sneered. "We are the masters of darkness, and we shall not be brought down by your feeble attempts at justice." In response, Isabella felt a surge of power within her, a force that had been awakened by her journey through darkness and redemption. She summoned the spirits of the wronged souls, the ones whose suffering had fueled the malevolent entity that had tormented her family. The spirits materialized around her, their ethereal forms a testament to the centuries of pain they had endured. The room trembled with the intensity of the confrontation, and the balance of power began to shift. Isabella's resolve was bolstered by the presence of these restless souls, who had finally found a conduit through which to seek their own form of vengeance. With a voice imbued with the authority of generations past, Isabella proclaimed, "Your reign of darkness ends here. Your malevolence has left a trail of suffering that can no longer be ignored. The spirits of the innocent call for justice, and I shall be their voice." The spirits swirled around her, their presence a reflection of the long-suppressed rage and sorrow they had endured. In this moment, Isabella realized that her fight was not just for herself or her family, but for all those who had fallen victim to the order's atrocities. As the confrontation intensified, Isabella realized that victory would come at a steep price. To break the order's hold over the town, she had to make a sacrificial choice, one that would test her resolve and define her legacy. The spirits whispered words of encouragement, urging her to carry on, even in the face of darkness. In a moment of clarity, Isabella understood that the cycle of vengeance had to end. If she sought redemption, she could not succumb to the same malevolence that had fueled the order's wicked deeds. Instead, she chose to offer herself as a vessel for the spirits' wrath, channeling their energy towards a higher purpose, the destruction of the order's power. With a defiant cry, Isabella embraced the spirits' power, allowing their rage to flow through her. The room erupted into chaos as shadows danced and malevolent figures shrieked in agony. The very foundations of the mansion trembled, and the darkness that had shrouded the town for so long began to dissipate. In a blinding burst of light, the malevolence that had consumed the order was purged, leaving behind nothing but remnants of their wicked ambitions. As the last echoes of their torment faded, Isabella knew that her actions had changed the course of history. The town was free from the order's grip, and the malevolent force that had haunted her family was finally at rest. But Isabella had paid a heavy price for redemption. Her body was weakened, and she felt the presence of the spirits she had channeled within her. In the end, she had become a vessel for both darkness and light, forever bound to the spirits that sought justice and the family she had fought so hard to protect. As the sun rose on a new day, Isabella stood outside the mansion, her heart heavy with the weight of her journey. She knew that her quest for redemption was far from over, and that she would forever carry the burden of her choices. But she also understood that she had made a difference, breaking the cycle of malevolence that had plagued her family and the town for centuries. In the twilight between darkness and light, Isabella found solace in the knowledge that she had found a semblance of peace amidst the shadows of her past. With the spirits of the wronged souls finally at rest, she vowed to use her newfound power to protect others from the malevolence that lurked in the corners of the world. In a town where the echoes of nightmares had once reigned, Isabella's story would be whispered through the ages, a tale of redemption and the triumph of light over darkness. The shadows of the night might still hold terrible secrets, but they would also bear witness to the strength of a woman who had found her purpose amidst the haunting darkness.